All right, welcome to another edition of the Fifth Down Sports Show. It is glad to be back. We have taken our March Madness break. Of course, we had the NCAA tournament going on. This is what happens when people actually work for a living and do this for fun. We kind of have to fit it in, but it was a great time enjoying the NCAA tournament. We'll get into all of that, of course, with UConn winning. So we'll talk more about that later. And then we ran into opening day, but now we are back. It is April. It is time for the Fifth Down Sports Show to put in some work here as we get ready for the draft. But today is about celebration. It is about celebrating what is the Connecticut Huskies and the UConn faithful out there. I haven't heard this said much, and it won't be said much. It won't be said by anybody else on this show, anybody else that has paid attention for the last 25 years. The Connecticut Huskies, University of Connecticut, college basketball's greatest program resides in Storrs, Connecticut. And if you want to challenge me on that, by all means, come on the show, 646-668-8415. The last 25 years, the Connecticut Huskies have dominated college basketball. And you can talk about what they've done. They have done it each and every way. We will get into that when we open the show. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Blog Talk Radio. We are live on Facebook. We are everywhere, everywhere and anywhere. Jump on in, get in the chat, call the show. There's a link in the chat if you want to join via video. Just click on the StreamYard link. It'll throw you right in. You can join in. You can join into our conversation. You can come in and argue with me. You can come in and you can do all of these things. You can agree with me. You can fight with me, whatever you want to do. You can bring a totally different topic if you want to talk about something else. We don't care on this show. Bring whatever you got. Come along. We'll get to all of that later on. But a few things to clear up. First, as I said, we are back. It is April. Not only are we back here on our own thing, but of course, if you've been paying attention to anybody, we have been Rod and the Lunch Crew on Mondays. We have been Snowman, Totally Deets Thursdays. So everything, we're doing those things. We're kicking, I want to say it. We're kicking ass at all of those things. We're all over the place. Fifth Down is expanding. We're getting into new realms. Of course, we are live and active in the chat on Jane Theory's program on Saturday mornings, which is always fun. Jane Theory, awesome program. If you're interested in media, if you are interested in pop culture, get over to Jane Theory. Subscribe to Jane Theory's channel. Get over there. She does a wonderful job, puts out videos, does a live stream every Saturday. And like I said, last Saturday when Jane didn't do a show, when Jane doesn't do a Saturday show, people get choked. That's just what happens. Just look at what happened to Jonathan Majors. Jane doesn't do a show, he goes out and chokes somebody. So that's just what that Jane is saving lives. You talk about Eternals. You talk about the Eternals movie saving lives. Jane Theory saves lives with her show. So we've done that. But we're adding to the resume as we go here. And for everybody that's out there, we will mention this throughout the show. But 8:30 Saturday, April 8th, that is this Saturday, it is must-see television as Fifth Down takes its talents to the Legacy Sports Network and we will be Legacy Sports Makers. We'll be going over there with Drew, who's been on this program. He's a friend of the program. Love Drew, love the Sports Senseis, love hamming it up with Drew. But now we get the real deal. We get to go in and do our thing. And anybody who's been watching this program for the last 6 years, watching us on YouTube for the last year, listening to us for the last 6 years, came along, listened to Trinity Gauntlet, listened to this program. Anybody who's been along for the ride, you know what you're going to get. You know what's going to happen when we hit that Legacy Sports Network and hit their in and out sports debate. You know what's coming. They might not know what's coming, but if you've been around for 6 years, you know what's coming. You know what is coming when I get on that program at 8:30 on Saturday. So we are ready for that. We are going to have fun with it. It's going to be awesome. With that, again, if you want to get in touch with this program, by all means, jump in the chat. If you're watching, if you're viewing this, if you're viewing it, jump in the chat. Let us know you're here. Let us know you're there. Let us know who you are. We will shout you out. We will shout out people who watch this show. That's what we do. And the reason we do this show, the reason we do this kind of programming and why we do it this way is I don't know any other way to do it other than I'm going to come on here. I'm going to speak my mind. And if you have a problem with it, it's not a problem. If you have a counterpoint to what I'm saying, by all means, come on. We want to hear your side of the argument. We want to hear all sides of all arguments. I'm not here to spout my opinion. I'm not here to say UConn is the greatest. UConn is the greatest, and there's nobody else can say anything. I challenge y'all. I'm putting an open challenge out there. Find me a better program in the last 25 years. Find me another team that's won 5 championships in the last 25. You can't do it. Find me another team that's won 3 championships with 3 different coaches. Find me that team, because there's only one of them, and that's Kentucky with Pitino, Tubby Smith, and John Calipari. They're the only other ones that have 3 different coaches. So what I was telling a buddy of mine before I came on this stream, what I was telling him was, UConn, it's not about the coaches. It's not about the players. UConn has not had a dominant player. They have had one of the greatest players of all time come through their program, which we'll talk about in a minute, which is one of the reasons why they're great. But they haven't had that dominant player. They haven't had that Zion Williamson that comes in and just takes over the NCAA by storm. UConn hasn't had that. And really the times that they have had that, they weren't as good as they are when they are together as a conglomerate, when they are Shabazz Napier. Shabazz Napier was the best player on one of their teams. They went out and won a championship because Shabazz Napier bought into the program. UConn is not about the coaches. It's not about the players. It's not about anything of that. It's all about the team. It's all about the program, the way they're built, the way they bring people in. And that was one thing that, even though he was part of the program, that was one thing that Kevin Ollie lost. Kevin Ollie lost sight of that it wasn't about bringing in the biggest and best player. It was about going into New York and bringing in guys from New York that just want to play basketball, that just want to play hard. They want to play at the Garden. They want to play in the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden. That's what they want to do. And they brought those kids in. You go all the way back to Kemba Walker. That's why Kemba Walker went to UConn, to be in the Big East tournament, to play at Madison Square Garden. He was a New York kid, wanted to stay in the area, wanted to play his biggest games at the Garden, and he did. And then he goes out and does what he did, and you could talk about that UConn team. That to me is my favorite UConn team of all time. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. If you had to pick a championship team, that was my favorite one to watch, because they went out. They started the season Battle of Atlantis tournament. run through it, beat everybody. Go to the Big East tournament, beat everybody. Go to the NCAA tournament, beat everybody. They were not dominant during the regular season, but you put them in a tournament and all of a sudden they just run through everybody. It was fantastic. It was great. It was awesome. So that's why I loved watching that team. And of course, Kemba doing Kemba things. I will always respect Kemba Walker. I don't care what he does. He played for my Celtics, and nobody was happier. He left my Celtics, and look, I don't care. I still respect the hell out of Kemba Walker because of what Kemba Walker did at UConn. What he did for the University of Connecticut was outstanding. It was fantastic. Watching him play, I just loved watching him play. I go back and watch that Pitt game in the Big East tournament. I remember watching it at home. I remember running off the bus to make sure that I got in to watch, and I was so glad that I got in and watched the end of it. It was so good. It was so good. Yeah, that was amazing. I remember watching that Pitt game, and he just crossed that dude. When he crosses that dude up, you knew right at that moment, he got him. Crossed him up, dude almost fell over it, and Kemba hits the elbow jumper, beats Pitt. They go on to the next round in the Big East tournament. They go through, run the whole thing, and they got in, and everybody – now, I remember that year, everybody was like, oh, UConn is lucky to get in. I go, I don't care that UConn's lucky to get in. They're in a tournament. I'm picking them to win. And everybody said I was crazy. Everybody talked about how crazy I was. Well, guess what? it ended up being that way. So I'm the same way. When I pick UConn to win every year, everybody says I'm crazy. This year, I was not. This year was they were as dominant as a team as anyone has ever been. I think their average victory was by 17 points. That's insane. That's insane. And so, but that's what I'm talking about. When I talk about the UConn Huskies, when I say UConn is the greatest team in the last 25 years, you got to find me a team. UConn now has 5 titles. That puts them third. Think about that for a second. You have Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Michigan State, all of these teams, Indiana, who people say is that they're where you go for basketball. Well, guess what? They don't even have enough titles to match UConn. UConn has outsoared them. Now, Duke has had 5 in this kind of run, but 2 of them were 91 and 92. So they're outside of the 25-year run. They've still had 3 titles to add to that. But again, you look at that. That was Coach K. I'm here to tell you, Duke fans, Coach K is not walking through that door anymore. Coach K is gone. Now, the guy who took over from him did a decent job. Held Duke. I mean, you look at what Duke was this year. Yeah, they were a good team. They were not a Duke team. Duke has set its own standard to what they are. And but you knew that they were going to take a step back without Coach K. That's fine. Let's see where Duke goes from here. But UConn, everybody said, oh, it's Jim Calhoun. Jim Calhoun's such a great coach. He's such a great player. He's a player's coach. He brings in all these guys. He gets them to play. He coaches them up, and that's what they do. Well, you can't say that anymore because Kevin Ollie took Jim Calhoun's players and took a team that was garbage the year before and turned them into a national champion. So people that want to say it had nothing to do with Kevin Ollie had a lot to do with that championship. Now, I would never sit there and argue with you that he was the reason. He was not the sole reason. The sole reason that team won a championship is because Shabazz Napier was a damn good leader. Shabazz Napier led that. That team had no business being in a national championship, let alone winning an NCAA tournament game. But Shabazz Napier's determination, Shabazz Napier's ability to rally all the guys around him, that made him that's what made him a great player. That's what made them a championship team. And Kevin Ollie, being Kevin Ollie, I grew up with Kevin Ollie as my point guard. Kevin Ollie, Chris Smith. Although I grew up with those UConn teams. Those were my UConn teams. Those were the teams I was watching when I was a kid. And so when Kevin Ollie and Shabazz Napier got together, it was like they were two peas in a pod. They were kind of. I always looked at Shabazz Napier as Kevin Ollie 2.0, and that's really what he was. Is Kevin Ollie was just leading those teams. Kevin Ollie was kind of was channeling himself through Shabazz, and it was good to see. Now we get this team up here. Tell me the guy on UConn that is bona fide star as far as the NCAA goes. I don't see one. I said this before the championship game. The UConn is 8 guys that are. They have some good talented guys. Austin Jackson, great guy. Hawkins, great player. They're great players, but they're not the upper echelon players. But when you put them all together and you combine their talent, you saw what they did. They ran through everybody. Sanogo, I don't know. I haven't checked Chad Ford's updates. Chad Ford is the NBA draft guru. He's the guy to go to. When you want to know where guys fit in the NBA draft, I don't see Sanogo being an NBA player. When I watch him play, his game doesn't translate to the NBA. It just doesn't. So what UConn doesn't have those guys. They're not bringing in, the Kentucky team of Anthony Davis, John Wall, and all those McDonald's All-American guys. They're not bringing in five of those guys at a time like Kentucky does. They're not bringing in the, 1 or 2 guys that go to North Carolina, the 1 or 2 guys that go to Duke every year. The one and dones that go to Duke, play a year of basketball and leave. UConn doesn't have those guys. They haven't done it that way. Now you look over the last 25 years of UConn basketball and find me in the last 25 years, find me a player who has taken college basketball success and had NBA success. Find me that guy. Find me that guy. Could you throw Carmelo Anthony in there? Could you throw who else are you going to throw in there that had success at the college level and then went on to the NBA and was just as successful? And A Pizzle, thank you for joining us up in the chat. A Pizzle, great to have you here. Part of the Snowman Army, A Pizzle. I hope you will be around on Saturday to join us in our march to Legacy Sports Makers. Hopefully you'll be there for us. Always great to have A Pizzle. Great NFL. During the NFL, you listen to A Pizzle do make his picks during the week. Usually he makes them before this show on Thursday night or a Friday. And it's a great show. Get on over to A Pizzle's channel. Great takes, and I'm wondering, a lot of people that I meet during the football season, I like to see what they do after the football season. And of course, with the draft coming up, and Fit Down, we're going to get into the draft on this show as we go here. More draft stuff mostly next week. Next week, the following week. So while I'm talking draft, I'll give you the schedule. So the schedule today is celebrating UConn's championship because UConn is awesome. And like I said, greatest basketball team in the last 25 years, greatest basketball program in the last 25 years. Challenge me on it. I challenge you to bring me a program that is better, and you tell me why their program's better, and I'll tell you where UConn meets it. Because there isn't a metric that is out there. Championships, UConn has won 20% of them. I was just talking about players, sending players to the NBA and succeeding at the NBA level. Show me the guys that have gone from these top programs and succeeded at the next level. Show me those guys. Show me the Rip Hamiltons who have won championships at the college level and went on to be no one's going to say Rip Hamilton is the reason Detroit won a championship. But he was a part of a championship team, and he was a significant part of that championship team. So Rip Hamilton is a guy who success at the college level at UConn, success in the NBA. But UConn also gave the NBA when he retired, the greatest shooter of all time. And of course, I'm talking about Ray Allen. So we'll get into all that. But I was talking about the NFL draft, the schedule going forward. Today is a celebration of UConn and everything great about UConn. Next week we'll talk all about prospects. We'll talk about team needs. We'll do everything NFL draft next week. The week after that, we'll do our mock draft. I'll go on the clock. If you want to draft for your team, by all means, get in touch with the show. We'll let you draft for your team. That'll be fine. I'll let you make the pick for your team. I'm not gonna sit here and tell a fan of their team, no, your team is going to do this. If you're a fan of your team and you come on, you stay with the mock draft, we'll have everything. We'll post everything in the chat so you can follow along. You come on, you're like, I'm a Washington fan, and you want to make Washington's pick, by all means, get at us. You put the guy in the chat that you want to draft. I'll slot them in. I will find a way to back your position. Even if I disagree with it, I'll say my piece, but I'll go with your pick over what I would do. But we'll get into all that when we do our mock draft. We'll do that. And then the last week of April, Thursday, I believe it's the 28th. I don't know I just know it's the last Thursday in April. The last Thursday in April will be the NFL draft. It'll be live. And if you've been a fan of this program, if you're new to the program, you know how we do NFL draft night. NFL draft starts, we jump in, we give you an open, and we just follow the draft. We don't do anything else. We talk about random stuff while Roger Goodell is doing his whatever things, and while they're waiting for the picks to come in, we'll have random discussions. But once the pick is in, we give you the pick, we tell you who it was, we watch it live, we analyze the pick, whether we thought it was good, whether we thought it was bad, how we think that guy fits into it. And the one thing we do not do, the one thing that we do differently, and I will say this, we do it different than all these other programs. You can tune into the Pat McAfee show. He's done NFL draft, so you can turn into Golick's show. They've done NFL draft. So where they went, where they lost all their credibility? When they laughed Daniel Jones off the stage on draft night. That we will not do that here. There is time to analyze the draft and to say, God, that was a terrible pick. There is time for that. The time is not draft night. Draft night is a night to celebrate the guy, the kids getting drafted. To say, yeah, this guy, his career at whatever, talking about Daniel Jones. Yeah, his career at Duke was his career at Duke. Here's why he's an NFL. Here's why the Giants selected him. Here's why the Giants picked him here. The goal is not to laugh anyone off the stage and to mock them and to put them down. That there's plenty of time to do that. Draft night is not the night. So you're not going to get that here. You're going to get straight up, strict analysis. That's what we do. We've done it for 6 years. We will continue to do it. Okay? As long as I am here and as long as I am able to do this, to talk to you guys, to go on YouTube, to go on StreamYard, to go on Blog Talk Radio, as long as I'm able to do that, to go on Snowman Multimedia, which has been along with us and look, we don't jump off trains, okay? I'm not doing this. I'm not doing Fit Down Sports Show to jump onto another show, to jump onto another thing. If somebody asks me to join their program, by all means, I'll be there. By all means, I will jump in. I will make it work if I can. I have no problem jumping into somebody's, jumping on and talking to somebody and doing those kinds of things. But I'm not doing this to, I didn't join up with Snowman Multimedia to further my career to go, Fit Down blew up, bye. Like, we're not doing that. And Snowman is doing a great job. We have held on to Snowman. We have rode Snowman's coattails for a long time, and we're not letting go. If we get vaulted at some point, we're gonna pull everybody else up with us. The same thing goes for all these shows, for all the people that commit to Snowman in the Morning, Playmaker, BS3, Cold Sports, Wise El Jefe, and Stuck in My Mind podcast. If this show, if Fit Down ever blows up, takes off, we do something. We've got some things in the works, and I can't discuss, but we've got some things in the works. If those things ever take off, there's not going to be we're going to leave y'all in the dust and we're going to go do our thing and get our thing going. We don't do that here. And we don't do that with anybody else. I don't care who you got. I don't care. I don't care what happens, with somebody. I'm not going to name names, but there's a certain beef going on between certain people, between two entities that we that we interact with. Look, you're not going to split me between two people. It's not an either or. Like, no, I enjoy going on one program. I enjoy going on the other program. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy conversing with people. I don't care who's watching. I don't care what's going on. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about. And if the people on that program, if the people that come on, if they have a problem with what I say, by all means, tell me why you're wrong. I have no problem. I have no problem telling somebody you're wrong, but okay. Like, you're wrong, explain it. And when they explain it, going, all right, you can keep being wrong. Don't get me wrong. Don't let me stop you. Don't let me stop you from being wrong. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you another way to look at it. And if you want to change your view, that's fine. If you tell me something that I can go, all right, I see where he's coming from, fine. We meet in the middle. We meet in the middle, and we can do that. That's what this is about. That's what sports debates are about. That's what talking is about. That's what all of this stuff's about. That's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people right now don't understand that talking is not about getting your point across. It's about getting your point. It's about stating your point, but it's about listening to the other person's point and saying, all right, this is where that's where you're coming from. Well, here's where I'm coming from. And here's why I see it the way I see it. I do have to run out for 1 second. I will be right back because I'm not going to get through this without. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I had to go get my trusty Dr. Pepper because there's no way I'm gonna make it through a 2-hour stream without some kind of without some kind of liquid. Otherwise, my voice will die, and it'll probably be the best show ever. If I have no voice and I can't talk. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like I always say, I'm on YouTube now, but I got the face for radio, so don't worry about that. But I have the hair. I have the hair for YouTube. That's the thing. Marshall, yeah. Shout out to Marshall. Shout out to Marshall, who always comments on our show about my hair. You know, it's a part of the lifestyle now. Once you start growing your hair out, it becomes part of the life that you just got to keep it going. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. UConn, greatest program in the last 25 years. And again, find me a team that's won more championships. You can't. Find me a team that sent the best shooter to the NBA that the NBA's ever had. You can't do it because Ray Allen is the best shooter of all, until Steph Curry became Steph Curry. Ray Allen was the best shooter, and Reggie Miller was that way all throughout my childhood. You're not going to get me to say Reggie Miller's a bad shooter, Reggie Miller's anything, talk bad about Reggie Miller. I watched Reggie Miller score, what was it, 9 points in like 4 seconds. And every Knicks fan knows about Reggie Miller. All right. You're not going to get me to Reggie Miller was the best shooter. What was the best shooter? Then Ray Allen came along, and Ray Allen took that mantle and took it over. Most three-pointers in the history and until Steph Curry changed the game of basketball and made it absolutely ridiculous. But Ray Allen was that guy. And you wanted to ask anybody, ask Chris Bosh if Ray Allen's the best shooter. When he tipped that rebound to Ray Allen, hits the three, they go to overtime, win a championship. Ray Allen won Miami a championship. That's how good of a shooter he was. So Ray Allen, I believe it's still intact. Best free throw percentage of anybody that shot, however, whatever number they use for their metric. Ray Allen has the best free throw shooting percentage. So the arguments are there. I could argue with you all day. Ray Allen is the greatest shooter in NBA history. And up until Steph, and I have to succeed to Steph Curry. But when Ray Allen left the game, he was the greatest shooter of all time. There's no question. There's no question about it. If you want to argue that stage, by all means, we'll have that argument. By all means, I'd love to hear who else you're going to put into that category. I mean, you have Steph, Ray, Reggie. Those are your shooters. You tell me you show me another shooter that is up there. I mean, you could add Larry Legend into there, but Larry exceeds all of those guys. Larry's game was more than just shooting the basketball. So that's kind of why I differentiate Larry. There's no argument. You're not going to get an argument from me. If you want to throw Larry in there, I'm gonna tip my cap to you, because anybody who can walk into a 3-point contest and say who's coming in second tonight, that's Larry Legend. That's Larry Bird right there. But so UConn sends Ray Allen to the NBA. They've sent, like I said, Rip Hamilton, who wasn't a dominant figure, but was part of that Detroit Pistons championship team that upset the mighty Lakers. Rip Hamilton was the UConn championship with Rip, Khalid El-Amin, all those guys. Rashad Anderson, that crew. UConn did it that way. Then you had the UConn teams with Ben Gordon and Emeka Okafor, and Emeka Okafor went on to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Hasheem Thabeet has been the number 1 pick in the draft. Rudy Gay is still playing basketball, by the way. That fascinates me. it fascinates me that he still gets on an NBA court. Like, it's quite amazing. But Rudy Gay came from UConn. Charlie Villanueva came from UConn. There was that other guy for Detroit. I always forget his name because he played 1 year at UConn and was dominant on the inside. I would have to look his name up. He got traded last. Like, he was big at the trade deadline. Everybody wanted him. But since I can't really remember his name, there's really no point in bringing him up. But there were those guys. So UConn has had really good players. What I'm saying about UConn is they've never had that guy. They've never had the guy who was, this is the clear-cut best player in the country, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They've never had that guy. They've never had an Anthony Davis. They've never had a John Wall. They've never had an Antoine Jameson, Vince Carter, a Jerry Stackhouse. They've never had those guys that were Chris Webber and Jalen Rose, those kind of guys. They've never had those kind of guys. They've never had those guys that they came in and you absolutely knew it. Shaq, you knew Shaq was going to be the number one pick right away. Zion Williamson, you just knew he was different. UConn's never had that. But what they have had is championships. They've had a conglomerate of great players that have gone on to the NBA and gone on to do well in the NBA. I mean, you have your Hasheem Thabeets that went out or were top level picks and then couldn't get out of the G League. You have those guys. You have those guys. But every school has those. But you also have guys that their careers just spanned. You go back to the early era, Scotty Burrell. Scotty Burrell was a journeyman guy in the NBA. Goes along, wins championships with the Bulls. Scotty Burrell was a UConn guy. Tate George. Tate George was great. If not for injury, Tate George would have been a great player. At the collegiate level, he was fantastic. Go back and watch some Tate George tape. Tate George was awesome. Back when UConn they were just Connecticut. They were just Connecticut. Then Tate George got there, and then Ray Allen got there, and they became UConn. So you go through that whole gamut. You go through the gamut of Tate George to Donyell Marshall to Ray Allen. That's when they became UConn. They became a household name. But when they weren't, Tate George was there, and Tate George was awesome. Tate George, Chris Smith, Scott Burrell, those guys shaped the way UConn basketball is played. They shaped the way UConn's built. And they shaped the way people saw that, and they said, look, you could go to this school and be a champion. You can go to this school and play at Madison Square Garden every year. Absolutely. I want in on that. That's how you attract guys like Kemba Walker to come. That's how you attract guys like Shabazz Napier. That's how you attract the Rashad Andersons of the world. Guys like now that they have Austin Jackson, Hawkins, Sonogo. You get them to come in because you tell them you're going to be playing at Madison Square Garden every year. All eyes are going to be on you when you're playing at the Garden. That's what you do. That's why UConn is that. So again, I'm challenging you to tell me your rhetoric. If you want to tell me UConn is not the best or the best program in the last 25 years, you got to tell me why. Now, the reason why I say the last 25 years, you can expand it out as far as you want to go back. But I mean, no one's going to touch UCLA in college basketball history. No one's going to touch UCLA pretty much forever. No one's going to be John Wooden again, winning 8, 9 championships. Like, no one's going to do that. That era of basketball is over. But because it's over doesn't mean we can excuse it. We throw it out the window. It was so far back that it doesn't count. No, that's not how things work. Things don't work that way. Whenever you talk about greatest college basketball teams, UCLA is going to be up there because of John Wooden. There's a reason why the MVP award is the John Wooden Award. There's a reason for that. Okay. So that's what I look forward to. But that's why I break it down to the last 25 years, because UCLA, they haven't won since 95 in the Ed O'Bannon years. To talk all time, as far as programs go, you have UCLA, Kentucky, and Kentucky gets inflated because of the Adolph Rupp era. The Adolph Rupp set the tone at Kentucky, did his thing. And then you get to Rick Pitino, Tubby Smith, and John Calipari, and Kentucky's up there, okay? Right behind them is UConn. UConn is right behind those historic programs. And the great thing about UConn is they're right in the middle of it. UConn is the current, they're the current team. Kentucky kind of tried to get that back with Calipari, with the Anthony Davis team, the John Wall team, with that era, with the era of just bringing in those kind of guys. Calipari kind of reinvigorated life into the Kentucky basketball. They have sent it's been a stretch since those teams. It's been a stretch since we've seen a dominant Kentucky basketball team. So UConn right now, they're in the mist. Yes, you could say, oh, Jim Calhoun is who did all of this. Nah, that's not how we roll, dude. No. Jim Calhoun built this. Jim Calhoun built the foundation. He built the foundation that the house is on. Kevin Ollie put the second story on. Danny Hurley is putting the third story on, and when you put the third story on, Danny Hurley's going to have time to put the balcony on, to build a pool in the backyard, and do all of the upgrading to the house. This is always going to be the house that Jim Calhoun built. The foundation will always be there, but the guys that have added to it have taken it to the next level. And UConn is at that level where, again, I challenge y'all. Find me a better program. Find me a better program. Name me one. North Carolina. North Carolina, yeah, they won a championship. North Carolina they've won one championship. I think in the years that I'm looking at, I think they've won 3. Okay, well, good job. 3's not 5. They've had great players from from Vince Carter to Antoine Jameson to Jerry Stackhouse to the most recent years where they've had really good players. When I think of the thing about North Carolina, when I think of North Carolina, I think of Eric Montrose. That's what I think of. So that's just what goes to my mind when I think about North Carolina. And I know they've had other great teams since then, but that's always like the first thing that pops into my head. But that's what I look at. That's what I try to do. And again, you want to bring me a program. Bring me a program that's better than UConn and explain why they're great. You bring me a program, you explain why they're great, I'll tell you why UConn is greater. And we can have that discussion. But I don't see it. I don't see the program out there. I don't see a program out there that can match what UConn is doing. So we got that. So all right. So that's the championship. That's celebrating, and we'll do a little bit more. We'll get back to this topic later on. But for right now, let's move on to so I was on Snowman this morning, and I was talking about, I gave them the good, the bad. I gave them a choice of good, bad, and ugly. They chose to get the ugly story out there. So we're just going to take this in the order of good, bad, and ugly. The good thing, I want it. I was going to bring up UConn stuff. If they had asked for the good story of the week, the good story of the week was UConn winning the national championship, and I was going to talk to them about. I was going to have this discussion with them about that, but didn't happen. They chose for a different story. Well, the bad story that I was going to tell them about, the bad of the week of last week, and the bad of anything. Anybody that watched WrestleMania 39, I feel bad for you. I'm sorry, I feel bad for you. Saturday was awesome. The outcomes were awesome. They were inspired. I talked about this with Rod and the Lunch Crew on Monday. WrestleMania Saturday, even though a lot of the outcomes were predictable. Rhea Ripley, we knew they were going to put a belt on Rhea Ripley. I just didn't know which one it was going to be, and then they decided to put the SmackDown title on her. Fine, go ahead. Fine, be my guest. You knew that was going to happen, but you're intrigued by what Rhea Ripley can do as the SmackDown champion, with everything that's going on in SmackDown, with the talent that they have there, with Charlotte, with Ronda Rousey, with Shayna Baszler, with all the female talent on the SmackDown side. It's intriguing to see what matchups are they going to set up. What feud are they going to set up for SummerSlam? What are they going to set up for the next WrestleMania? For WrestleMania 40, what are they going to set up for that? How are we going to get down there? That's intriguing. It's all intriguing. Awesome. Saturday showed us. Saturday showed Logan Paul and Seth Rollins. Anytime Seth Rollins is in a match with somebody, it's going to be must see. Seth Rollins is that guy. He makes every match better. Every match he's in, he makes it better. Even if the opponent's Logan Paul, it's still a good matchup. It's still fun to watch. That was a great matchup. Good. I'm intrigued to watch what goes forward. Montez Ford and all of that in the triple threat match. That was cool to see. That was cool to see the tornado tag team or whatever the hell they call it. That was cool. It was fun to see. It's good to see when tag team. We talked about this months ago. Tag team, when the tag teams are great in the WWE, that's when WWE is going great. WWE is struggling when the tag team division is lacking. When you have epic tag teams, WWE flourishes. That's what they need to get back to. They need to get back to having epic tag teams, epic stables. And I mean stables. Stables are what drive this. Individuals, yeah, they can carry it. They can carry the bag for a couple of years. They can carry the bag for a while. You can't carry the bag for years on end. You can't be iconic. Triple H and Shawn Michaels are great by themselves. As D-Generation X, they defined a generation. That's what I'm talking about here. That's what I'm talking about. You can be great on your own. You can be great in the WWE on your own. You can be Hulk Hogan and be the greatest wrestler of all time. Okay? You can be that. Or you can be the leader of the NWO and be an epic generation-changing guy. That you can be that. You can be that if you're leader and part of a faction that works. Booker T, you can be a great wrestler on your own, but as Harlem Heat, you're a great guy. Ric Flair, the greatest champion of all time, 16-time limousine riding, kiss stealing champion. Ric Flair, nobody better than Ric Flair. Okay? But when Ric Flair is part of the Four Horsemen, the Four Horsemen are iconic to wrestling. That's what I'm talking about with wrestling. Is it's not about being an individual. It's about building up to something that takes over a generation. Speaking of taking over a generation, let's bring on the man, the myth, the legend, Rod from Rod Uncensored. What's going on, man?
Man, I'm just, you're listening. I said, let me pop one for real quick before I go to bed. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Celebrating UCONN. We talked about it on Monday. I'm still waiting for a challenge. I hope this video, when it goes up, when people start noticing it, I'm hoping somebody brings me a challenge, because
when they go
the greatest program in the last 25 years. Find me a better collegiate program in the last 25 years than UCONN.
They're tearing up the city right now in Connecticut.
From what I mean, let me just say this right out of the gate. It doesn't take much to tear apart. To tear up Hartford, Connecticut, it doesn't take much. Hartford is a war zone to begin with, so they can do whatever they want to Hartford. And I'm sure the parade, look, the streets of Hartford will look better after the parade than they do before. That's how bad Hartford is. But yeah, they're partying hard. They came back. I saw it in the paper. They came back last night, and fanfare was going nuts. I want to see when the parade is. I was actually warned. My friend Marshall warned me, don't go to the parade. It's gonna be a shit show. But if they do it on a Thursday and I don't have to go to work, I might catch the bus to Hartford. I might find somebody who's going and go, let's ride and rock out. I'll rock out to a championship parade. Hell yeah. So we're not going to get another championship parade. We're not going to get any other championship parades around here.
So what is team ranks? Where you rank this Connecticut team all time?
All time. That's the funny thing about this team. All time, when you look at their domination of the tournament, it has to be up. It has to be up there with the greatest, with some of the greatest of all time, because their margin of victory is better. I believe I saw something. It was like the second largest margin of victory for a champion when you factor in all the games. That's insane, because when you look at the this is what I was getting at before. When you look at the team itself, there's no one on this team, from Austin Jackson to Hawkins to Sanogo. There's nobody that you're going to look at and go, see, that guy's the greatest player in college basketball history. That guy's going to be the number one pick next year because he's the best player in the league. There's not a guy on that on that you could do that with, But when you put all 8 of these guys together, you see what happens. There was too much talent. When guys put their second lines in, UConn's second line was like a first line. They just dominated, and you saw it. So that's why I say it's tough to put this team in perspective, because how good they were, 10 years down the road, when people look at this roster, they're going to go, this roster dominated the tournament? What the hell happened?
So you telling me some people got paid then?
I think so.
Some people said Jerry Maguire showed me the money after whoever bet on Connecticut.
Well, if you bet on Connecticut, and my shout out again to Marshall. Marshall was on this from day one. My boy Marsh was on it from day one. He told me, UConn's going to win. And I told him, I said, I always pick UConn, so I'm hoping they win, but I know how the tournament works. And he was like, nah, dude, they got this. Don't worry about it. And he was right. He was absolutely right. And to him and Kristen, congratulations on winning the winning your bracket. When you're the only one that picks UConn, I'm pretty sure you're going to win the bracket every time. So congrats to them. I was talking with him earlier, and he said they won. Yeah, Rod, you're a guy that makes sports bets. Let me tell you if this is shitty. So my friend Kristen works. She's a manager at the bank I go to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I just ended her job career now, knowing that she's a friend of mine. I'm sure that does not help her job prospects. But anyway, so Marshall and Kristen, they put together their bracket and they put it up. Office pool. They win. My buddy Marshall's like, oh, what do we win? What do we win? Well, they're donating money in your name to a charity. Does that count as a win?
That's not a win, Deeds. That's not a win.
That's not a win, right? Wait, we won? No, we're going to take your winnings and give them to somebody else.
That's the worst bet of all time.
I was like, wait, what? It reminded me of Seinfeld with the Human Fund. I was like, yo, Marsh, wherever they send that money to, you better make sure that organization actually exists. That it's not just some random made up charity. Because
that's a terrible bet, man.
But you know what that's about. When you make it off when I don't work in an office, so I don't really know. I have worked in offices before, but it's not even about like, if everybody puts in $5 and it's not about the money you get back at the end. It's the ability to walk into the office and go, boom, I won.
Talk trash.
That's the real win. That's the real win is, yeah. When it comes up next year, you'll be like, I'm the champ. Unseat us because we're the champ.
I had a buddy lose close to 950 in the Eagles and 49er game. That's what kind of bets we make at my job.
Jesus.
we bet for the gusto. We're not gonna.
That's like that. That's like working. That's like working for free. You're now working for free. Like you're working and you're not going to see any of that. Like your next paycheck comes and you're like, yeah, here you go. Just take this. Just take this. I'll go back to work in my 40 hours so I can get so I can recoup some of that. Jesus.
Like I bet somebody already. The season haven't started. I said, man, we still gonna have the streak. We're gonna have the streak. The Jets and Patriots streak. The streak's still gonna live.
Ooh.
I bet somebody $50.
That's a tough bet. That's a tough bet. That's a tough bet because you got to sweep them.
Yeah, I said, man, I think we're gonna go for the sweep.
Yeah, that's cool. So we were talking about UConn for a long time. We were talking about them being the greatest of all time, and like I said, I'm going to keep saying it every like 5 minutes on this show until somebody comes up with a challenge to me. And I'm going to keep saying it because I know this is going to get played over and over again. People are going to come in and watch. If you're just coming to it, throw it in the comments. I see every comment. I will react to it. If you send me an answer, I will say this right now. I will do a video just to you. If you come in and you say, dude, you're crazy, UConn, Duke is the best. I would do a video. I'll say, all right, this guy said Duke. Here's why, and I'll go at it. And so I will do video responses to my comments. So I put that challenge out. Put that challenge out there. Comment. Find me a spot. But anyway, I was talking about WrestleMania, and the thing about WrestleMania that was so deflating, that was so disastrous, was, you felt it in the air when Cody Rhodes comes out for the main event. The whole energy in the building stood up. It stood out. You believe, and everybody going into WrestleMania had the emotions of, is Roman Reigns going to drop the title? Is the title going to go to Cody Rhodes? Are we finally going to see a Rhodes? The Rhodes family is iconic to wrestling. Are we finally going to see a Rhodes family member hold up the title. Like, that was the feeling going in. And all of a sudden, all of that was taken away by the way it ended. And you saw it was palpable watching. And again, I didn't watch it live because I was doing other things and I don't really feel like paying for Peacock. Well, I find ways to watch these things. And I was watching, when I watched the ending, you can see it in the crowd. The crowd is just.
It was hurt. It was hurt.
That's the takeaway from WrestleMania 39. No one is going to look back at If Cody Rhodes wins, people would talk about that 10, 15 years from now. They would say, man, remember when a Rhodes family member, when Cody Rhodes won the title and there was a celebration of Dusty and Goldust and all of that? People would have talked about it for years. I said this the other day. I'm talking about it now a week later. A week from today, WrestleMania 39 means nothing. There's no meaning to it.
I don't think it's. It really turned me off from watching ever again.
I'm glad you said that, because that was my exact next point of, when I saw the results, I went, am I going to watch Raw? Am I excited to watch Raw the next night with Roman Reigns as the title? No, I still haven't watched Raw from this week. I don't even know if I will. I'm not excited to it. If Cody Rhodes had won and they were going to do, Cody Rhodes wins, they go, oh my God, we're going to do this. Cody Rhodes, we'll talk about it on Raw tomorrow. We're going to do a Rhodes party. I would have tuned in. I would have tuned into Raw by now. I would have tuned into Raw the next, I work at night, but when I got home, I would have gone to Hulu and watched Raw to see what the celebration. I would have cared.
But
Roman Reigns retaining his title, I don't care.
This is like the same thing we talk about Star Wars. Like, the writing is killing this. We already know we're grown now. You're 40, I'm 30. We know it's fake, but you gotta switch the script. You gotta flip it. We're tired of Roman Reigns. We understand he's great. He's great for the sport, but we're tired of seeing this. It's like watching Superman not get hit with kryptonite. We're over this. Like, hey, Deets, I don't want to watch it anymore, man. I don't even want to see no highlights. It turned me off.
Yeah,
it turned me off.
This is exactly my point to why. This was exactly my point to why WrestleMania was so disastrous. We talked about it on Monday. Who is going to challenge Roman Reigns for a title for the title that makes you go, all right, I want to see that. There's not a guy on the roster that can do that. There's not a guy on the roster. So now, and you said, we know it's fake, and we all know it's scripted. We all know that. When people say wrestling is fake, the outcomes are scripted. We're well aware of that. But the action that goes on, the pageantry that goes around it, that's what draws us in. There's nothing around Roman Reigns that brings you in to go, yeah, I want to see what he does next. I want to see what we've seen Roman Reigns for the last. I don't even know how long it was. It feels like it's been the last 2 years at least of just Roman Reigns goes out, does his Roman Reigns thing. He has the title. All right, somebody else fights him. Same thing. But you're not going to take the title belt. You're not going to take the belt off Reigns on Raw. You're not going to take him off at No Way Home or whatever the hell they call these. If you're going to take the belt off him, it's going to be SummerSlam or WrestleMania. Those are your two options. You're not going to take the belt off him in some crappy some crappy pay-per-view that nobody's going to watch. That's not going to happen. It's going to happen at the two big events. So now we're stuck with waiting till the summer, waiting to the end of summer. If that doesn't happen, we know it's not going to happen till WrestleMania. So we got to suffer through this for a whole year of a whole year of I don't care what happens in wrestling. That's what you set. That WWE. That's what you set up. You have set up people not caring for a full year of your product.
And that's why why the AEW is winning right now.
Yeah, that's what absolutely. That's why AEW is interesting. It has way more interest. Again, it's not as I wouldn't say it's not as profitable. It's not as prominent as WWE. But watching AEW is more fun. It's more fun right now. And WWE doesn't understand that. And that's what I was talking about before with, factions are what make WWE. You can be great. You can be absolutely great. And the perfect example of this, Triple H and Shawn Michaels are great. They are great on their own. As D-Generation X, they were for a 5-year span, D-Generation X was the WWE. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting those stars together to make a faction will make them iconic. You can be great on your own. You can be iconic as that. Go ahead, Rob.
Like, we don't got none of that, man. We don't got none of that no more, man. I remember what's that? The Nation with Mark Henry and what's the other guy?
The Nation of Domination with Farouk.
Yeah, Farouk. We don't have none of that. Like, we don't have none of the factions, like you said. We don't have none of that no more. Like, it's
and they've tried to manufacture it with the tribal chief or the whatever they called it, the Reigns family or whatever. Like, all right, that you've got one. You've got to. They can't just be like, all right, there's one faction out there, and the rest of the people just kind of go about your business. You need to have somebody against them. When you have the NWO, you have the Four Horsemen. When you have D-Generation X, you have you had the Nation for them to go against. You had Stone Cold and his they tried to put Stone Cold with a group of guys to go against D-Generation X. That you have to have somebody oppose them. You can't just have them going out. You can't just have the tribal chief go out, run amok, destroy everyone and be like, yeah, see how great they are. You're like, yeah, but the people they're beating aren't that great, so we don't care.
Like, I think
we just don't care.
Hey, Deech, when the last time you seen a kid at Walmart buy some wrestling WWE toys?
Oh, no, never.
How big was that when we was growing up?
I haven't. The people I see buying wrestling toys now are like 35.
But how big was that though, dude? That when we was growing up, the ring, the toys.
Oh, absolutely. I remember having my my Hulk Hogan, my Hulk Hogan. I guess you could call it a plushie, but like I had my Hulk Hogan doll, and throw it on the bed and go into bed, give it an elbow drop when I go in. Like those are the things you remember. Yeah. Go walk down you're right about this. Go walk down the toy aisle. You won't see a wrestling toy. You might see a couple of them. You won't. When that used to be a whole aisle. It was an aisle of wrestling toys.
I remember when John Cena,
Walmart, at Toys R Us, they had their own alley, and now it's like a little portion. You get like 5 or 6 of them. And that's it.
They missed out on the bag. It's bad now. I guess they stayed afloat with the video games for the lifers, but I remember when they had the toys, they sold them terrible rap albums. Like it used to be Major.
toys, belts. They had rings that you could put your figures in, and me and my friends used to do it all the time. Get the ring. We'd bring all our toys over, throw them in, and just do matches on like WWE. This is what you're missing out on, all of this, because you're not putting a product out that people can get behind, that people can sit there, watch with their kid, and be inspired about it. You watch the end of WrestleMania 39 and you feel defeated. Well, if you feel defeated about it, you're not going to go to the store the next day and buy a Roman Reigns doll. You're not going to go out and do that. That's not going to happen. If Cody Rhodes had won, you could have had Cody Rhodes win at WrestleMania and put out a Cody Rhodes doll the next day, and it would have sold millions. It would have sold 1 million figurines the very next day.
And that's why a lot of people, closer our age, or we watch the old wrestling matches on YouTube, and they should see the data about people watching on YouTube old matches, old promos, and they should take that data and say, oh man, why are they watching this? Why this is so much better than the product now? You would think they would do that.
I can tell you, I had WWE Network when they had the network before they went to Peacock. Mm-hmm. I had the WWE Network, and they would put out every pay-per-view, whatever. I bought the WWE Network for the sole reason of watching Nitro I would watch every Nitro from 1994 to 1995 and just watch them straight through. That was the reason I bought it, was to watch the old school WCW stuff, the old school matches. I was watching matches from the 80s that I was just like, wow, because it was that you had that iconic moment.
Like, everybody remember, the Ultimate Warrior running down to the ring. Like, we don't get none of that. We don't get the, the charisma of the wrestlers no more. I don't think it's not too many people really great on the mic.
And that's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at before with, 10 years from now, is anybody going to go back and watch WrestleMania 39?
No.
Is anybody going to do that? No. They're going to skip over it. They're going to skip over it like they have the last 3 WrestleManias. Because there's been nothing. There's nothing to talk. There's nothing that happened in it that you go, I need to see that again. It was, I saw it. Cool. Whatever.
But how bad is this that the Paul brother is better on the mic than a lot of full-time professional wrestlers? How bad is that?
It's bad enough that they had to bring in, they couldn't cultivate it through the guys that they have. They had to bring in Logan Paul from the fighting world to say, you need to come over here because we don't have someone with your charisma to handle this. And yeah, it's sad. It's sad to see, because that's not the way it was. It used to be they brought guys over because they were good fighters. Now they don't even have. If you don't have good fighter, if you don't have charismatic guys, what the hell do you have? Because we all know you don't have fighters. We know that. If you were a good fighter, you'd be in UCF, you'd be in boxing, you'd be doing MMA stuff. If you were a good fighter, you'd be over there. But you're in the WWE to entertain. That's what you're there for. And that's why it was just so devastating. It was awful. Rod, while I got you here, have you ever heard of the Blue Beetle?
No, break that down for me.
All right. So the Blue Beetle is a DC comic book character, and I know. Rod, you get on me all the time for bashing Marvel and Disney. So
I don't like DC.
So here I go. So here I go. So the Blue Beetle is a DC character. He's had some good comic book runs. He had a good run in, I think, the early 80s, and he had another good run in about the mid 90s when they revamped the character, and then they tried to revamp him for the new 52, and they've done some things with Blue Beetle. So Blue Beetle's kind of he's an interesting character, but okay. DC decides they're going to turn him into a movie character. So they make a movie, the Blue Beetle movie, and DC. When you're talking DC Comics, who comes to mind? Superman, Batman. Those are when you think DC Comics, you think Superman, Batman.
No Green Lantern?
Nah, you don't go to Green Lantern.
That's the only one. That's the only guy I liked it out of DC.
He's kind of that second tier. I mean, he is part of the Justice League, so I could give you Green Lantern. Green Lantern is great. The Green Lantern stories are great.
And the Watchmen movie was hard too. I gotta give DC on that. The Watchmen was tough.
I love Watchmen the movie. The movie is great. The movie was tough. The television show was awful, but the movie Watchmen, I watch it all the time.
The Losers was pretty good too. I like the Losers.
It's so good. But what I'm getting at is Superman and Batman drive your company. They drive your company as far as comic book sales, as far as at the box office. If you want to make money in your movie, you want to make your Flash movie good, well, let's put Michael Keaton's Batman in it. Like that's how you do it, right? But Blue Beetle took a different approach as they let the trailer go. And Rod, let me tell you if this incites you to watch this movie. The last line in the movie, George Lopez says to Blue Beetle, "Oh, don't worry about Batman. Batman's a fascist." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You took your greatest character. You're the only one who sells. The only one who's selling right now. Comic book sales are in the comic book sales are in the garbage. The only comic book selling right now is Batman. Batman comics Batman put out a new Batman comic. People flock to it. They buy it.
People still watch the cartoon. But they can start a new animated Batman cartoon. These people still watch.
But you're putting out a comic book character movie. You want comic book fans to flock to your movie to watch it. And you call your most iconic character a fascist. DC, Blue Beetle is dead on arrival.
I don't even watch it already.
I would say this right now to DC. Put this right to HBO Max. Don't put this in the theater. If you put this in the theater, you're going to get you're just burning money. Put it right to HBO Max. Let the 5 people that are interested in watching it watch it. Let the other 20 people that want to shit on the movie, let them watch it, and let them, because there's going to be YouTube content creators that are going to make videos about this when they watch it. Let them do it. But if you pay to distribute this through the theater, you're just burning millions of dollars because this movie is dead on arrival. Dead.
What about? I always wondered why they haven't done a Patriot movie.
I've wondered that too. Patriot is a great. We know why they wouldn't do it now. You would need somebody to get in both these offices, whether it's DC or Marvel. You need to get somebody in these that is saying, scrap all these crappy comic book people that don't sell. Stop with the women empowerment thing. Okay. Women empowerment is great. It's fine. It's not a box office seller. It never has been. There's one woman in comics that bucks the trend, and that's Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is the only one that bucks the trend. Every other female-led comic book has gone down the drain whether it's Captain Marvel, whether it's Miss Marvel, whether it's Batgirl, Batwoman, all of the female-led comic book shows.
Remember that Supergirl movie, TV show? That shit was terrible.
Supergirl, yeah, Supergirl. I'll say that I watched the TV show for a little bit. It was okay. The only other one was Stargirl, and they cut Stargirl for no reason. Stargirl was actually trending really well, and then they just said, "Nah, we're done. We're done doing this. We're gonna go in a different direction." I don't understand this. But why they don't put the Patriot out is because it's a male led comic book. They're not gonna do it. They don't have the balls to put it out right now. But that would be one, and that's the thing about these comic book movies. You have to find characters like you said. The Patriot did well when he saw, but he didn't do well. He did well during his run. Hasn't done well on resales. But if you put a good movie out that told the story, that was literally rip the comic book page and just put it on the screen. If you just did that, you would instantly see, people would go, "Wow, this movie's good." Let me go see the source. Let me go read the comic. Let me go buy some of the comics. Let me go buy some of the figurines. Let me go do all this. That's how you cultivate intrigue. You don't cultivate intrigue by doing, Captain Marvel. Somebody who Captain Marvel books have tanked. Every time they've tried to put a Captain Marvel book out, it has sold horribly. So what do? They make a movie about her. The movie tanks, and they're like, "What? Why do people not like our movie? People didn't like the character before the movie. So you put out a movie that nobody cares about. They watch the movie. They go, well, I don't care. The movie sucked. Why would I want to go buy a Captain Marvel comic? You wouldn't."
I feel like Marvel missed out on a lot of key spots. Like, I like the guy from Friday Night Lights, his portrayal of Gambit. He played a good Gambit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he played a good Gambit. I think that could have worked out. And I also like the guy that played Daredevil in Netflix. I think he was a good Daredevil.
Charlie Cox is the best thing Marvel has going for it right now. And they're trying to figure out how to run him through the fucking. They're trying to figure out how to run him into the ground. I mean, you take Charlie Cox, the best thing you have going, and you put him in She-Hulk, which destroyed him, and then you're like, oh, we're gonna do a Daredevil show. Well, we're gonna wait on that. Like,
what happened to that Thundercat movie that I heard they was supposed to put out?
They've been talking about doing a Thundercat movie for 10 years. It's never going to happen. Live action Thundercats movie is never going to happen.
No, that'd be hard though, Deeds. Man, I love Thundercats.
I love Thundercats too. I would love to see.
You could imagine what they could do with that. They could look like Avatar.
I do believe they have done. I do believe they did one. I think it was in the 90s. It was in the 90s, and they just what's the not Lion-O, the Panthro. Panthro just, he looked horrible. They showed him, and everybody went, "Oh God." if that's what you're gonna do to these guys, we're not gonna watch it, and it tanked. And ever since then, they've talked about doing a Thundercats movie for 10 years now.
What about?
I'm telling you right now, it's never gonna happen.
What about a Johnny Quest movie?
Johnny Quest would be really cool.
You get the guy from Harold and Kumar as Haji. I know that's kind of race. I know people get mad about that, but that would be awesome, man.
No,
you get Zac Efron as Quest.
No, see, you're right on. You're right on there. They wouldn't look. Casting people wouldn't look at that. They would go, "Oh, well, we can't portray Haji that way. We have to make him something different." No, the guy fits. What you do with characters is you look at the comic, you watch the cartoon, and you go, who does that remind me of?
Oh,
Let's get that guy. Let's get that guy to play that character in that role. You don't have to subvert our expectations of, hey, let's race swap this guy. Let's race swap that person. Let's make this person a boss woman. Like that's how your company dies. That's how you kill an IP, by changing everything. Just put everything out there. And then if you did a Johnny Quest movie and you put and I know you're thinking of Kumar, and I'm trying to think of his name. He wouldn't go back. He's done with acting anyway, and you couldn't put him in a movie. I don't think he played Raj from or Taj, the Rise of Taj in Van Wilder. That guy, he's done. He's political now. He became part of the Obama campaign, and he became part of the Obama White House. You put him in a movie, the Republican side, like Michael Jordan famously once said, Republicans buy sneakers too.
I'm just saying, Johnny Quest was hard, dude. So I love the Johnny Quest cartoon.
Yeah, I would love to see that, and I would love to be, this is a great segue into what I wanted to get to, for this show going forward, and I'm running out of battery here, so I don't think I can do one tonight. But this show going forward, we're going to be doing NFL draft stuff. But this channel, this Fifth Down channel, what I'm trying to get to, and what I'm trying to piece together, and trying to figure out how the best way to format this. I want to do a show, whether it's like a Saturday or a Sunday, probably would be a Saturday live stream, where I just say, come on the show, tell us a story. Tell us something. Tell us a story of, when you were 8 years old, what were you doing at the time? This is what Hollywood has lost. They have lost the ability to tell a story, to take a story that you are, something, whether it's something you saw as a child, like Rod, you just said Johnny Quest, tell us an episode of Johnny Quest that come on the live stream. Tell us a scene, an episode that you really like. Talk to us about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why it was great. Let's talk about why we like that, what we did in our own lives. And, I'm thinking back to a lot of the things that I did as a kid. I mean, I have story. I can tell you, one day we're walking in the woods and we found a machete, and just imagine being 8 years old in the woods with a machete, what you and your friends would do. Imagine the chaos that came from that day. That's what I'm talking about. I want to tell all those stories. And, because someone's going to watch it. Someone's going to watch those stories. Somebody's going to watch you tell your story of you growing up and go, you know what? I can turn that into a movie. I can turn that into a television program. I can turn that in. That's how things are built. They're not manufactured. It's real life situations that we get into that are so that's going to be something I'm going to be working on.
Well, why? I have a quick question for you, Deets. Why don't they let Kevin Smith do comic book movies? I just don't understand that.
Because two reasons. One, because Kevin Smith is great at certain things. He is terrible at telling stories. Oh. He is terrible, and he is great with comic. His comic book knowledge is off the charts. Every time they have brought Kevin Smith into a project, he's been kicked out. Now, why that is, I don't know. I'm not in those rooms. I mean, go back to Superman. Go back to Superman Lives. Superman Lives, which is a Superman movie that never got made. it was they paid $30 million to not make a movie. And probably more than that. They paid Nicolas Cage $30 million to not make a movie. Just Nick Cage. Imagine everything else, the production sets, all of that. They set all that up. But they brought Kevin Smith in to write the script. And they hired Tim Burton. Tim Burton looked at the script and went, "Get out. I'll do this myself." That's how bad that's how bad it was. But the other reason is because Kevin Smith is a shill. Okay. Kevin Smith is a shill, and you want any proof. You look, Kev. I'm glad. I'd be glad to talk to you because I would love to know how you messed up He-Man. Go watch. You want to get an idea for how Kevin Smith is going to tell a story? Go watch Masters of the Universe Revelations. Watch that program and tell me Kevin Smith can write a good script, because he can't. He destroyed an IP that writes itself. And
I've never seen it.
Oh, if you have Netflix, Masters of the Universe Revelations, I will tell you right now, bring a barf bag, because
is that bad?
The first episode is amazing. The first episode is awesome. You'll watch the first episode and be like, all right, this is 1980s, 1990s He-Man all over again. Awesome. Yeah, the problem is there's 6 more episodes and then another season after that of just absolute destruction. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody don't watch it. I always say I am cringe. I will watch cringe television just for the fact that I can laugh at it. Mm-hmm. If you can stomach laughing at something that's absolutely terrible, that's what it is. But if you don't want to take the time to watch all those episodes, my advice is on YouTube, find The Critical Drinker. Mm-hmm. He has 2 whole videos on the Masters of the Universe where he watched the whole thing and broke everything down. And if you watch his video, this is the funny thing about people is people always say people like Drinker and Mahler and Nerderotic and all these comic books. They always say our movie didn't do well because these people trashed our movie. That's not why your movie didn't do well. Because when I watch the Drinker talk about a bad movie that he saw, it doesn't make me go, I don't want to see that movie. It makes sometimes I watch his takes on movies and I go, now I want to see that movie just to see what the hell he's talking about and how bad it actually is. People aren't going to see your movies, Hollywood. People aren't going to see your movies because they don't care. Apathy is the death of entertainment. When people don't care, if people don't like something, if they see something that they're like, I see a review of something, and whether, like I said, Drinker, Disparu, Little Platoon, I watch all these YouTubers. I watch them explain that, I watched them talk about Wakanda Forever before I even saw it. And I went, now I got to watch it. I watched their reviews, and their reviews were scathing. They absolutely took the movie apart. But it made me go, all right, now I want to see this and see what my opinion of this is. See if my opinion matches up with theirs. That's how it is. That's how I got drawn into YouTube. Is I watched Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus, and I went, I hated this. I can't be the only one that hates this. And I went and I searched for reviews of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and all I found was people just shitting on it. And I was like, okay, I'm not the only one that does this. The funny thing is now I'm trying to search for positive reviews. I can't find them. I can't find positive reviews of movies anymore. John Wick 4, everybody seems to be positive about it. So I've seen some positive reviews of that. But It's not the negative. The negative reviews aren't what's killing you. You can have a negative review and have it generate for you. If people care, about the IP, if people care about what you're doing. Meanwhile, if you create a trailer that says Batman is a fascist, well, guess what? I'm a Batman fan. I'm not going to your movie. You just shut me off. You just shut me out of your movie because I probably would have gone to see Blue Beetle, or at least when it comes out on HBO Max, because my roommate has HBO Max. When it comes out, I would tune in. But I saw your trailer, and now I don't want to see it. Which is, speaking of, we did good, bad. Well, that was my ugly from earlier today on my appearance on a program that I will not name, because Rod, out of respect for Rod, I will not name the program I was on. So we talked about good, bad, ugly. Now we need to have a funeral. And I talked about it last week. Star Wars.
Can we stop right there? I don't.
Star Wars is dead.
It hurts me to say that. So I used to have Pod Racer on the Dreamcast. I used to love those games.
How great was that game? How great was that game on Game? That was really the only reason to buy Gamecast.
No, they had like a knockoff Street Fighter. It was pretty good too.
They had they had that, and they had
the NASCAR game was pretty good on
and they had the other car game. They had the other car game. I forget. I remember me and my buddy bought a Dreamcast together, and we bought it just solely to buy this one game where you could just drive around. You drive around, crash cars, then you go get the next car, and then you just drive it around.
Grand Theft Auto?
No, it wasn't Grand Theft Auto. It was before Grand Theft Auto, but you would just drive around. You would just drive around the city. It was something. It was in California, and you would just cruise around. And really, there was no point to the game at all. It was just driving, and it had a cool soundtrack. You could like change the music. Like you could listen to like 70. You put it on like 70s music, and they would play like they would play like that style. You put it on 80s, and they would have like Van Halen playing, and you put it on like 90s, and they had Sublime going. So that was like the reason we bought the game. I forget what it was. It wasn't Cruisin' USA, but it was like Cruisin' USA.
Yeah, I feel
that was real. I remember that, but I do remember when the podcast game, when the Pod Racer game came out, we played that. We played that until the end of time, till GoldenEye came out, and then GoldenEye was just
GoldenEye was tough, man.
That was it. That was it. Everybody played GoldenEye. We had GoldenEye parties. We would come over. All right, you first four up. You guys are in. Let's see who wins. Winner stays on, and we would have like 8 or 9 people. Like we'd have 4 people waiting to play, just watching everybody play.
That's like Super Smash Brothers.
At the bit to get in.
That's like Super Smash Brothers, Dragon Ball Z. When they had the tournament style, you can have a tournament style.
Yeah.
Super Smash Brothers. There's a lot of games you could play like that.
I remember the Sega Dreamcast.
Yeah, I used to love Road Rage. I used to love Road Rage on the PS1. We get on the bike, kick people off. That was fun. But
yeah, back to the point, and you're right. It pains me to say it. It pains me to say it. I'm not a Star Wars fan. Okay, I never would call myself a Star Wars fan. I respected Star Wars out of. I love the original trilogy is a great story. The sequel, the prequel trilogy, is a great story that adds to the original. And I watch them all when they're on TV. I'll watch them. When I feel like watching something, I'll go watch them. Then you come out with the sequel trilogy, and the Disney trilogy is just god awful. The story makes no sense. It doesn't make me want every single character in it. I'm like, I don't care about them. all the characters I do care about, well, they either killed them off or they assassinated their character or they just died on their own. God rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. Everybody else, they killed off Han Solo. They killed off Luke Skywalker. They assassinated Luke Skywalker to where he went from being the hope of the generation. I watched the original trilogy, and at the end of Return of the Jedi, I was like, all right, there's hope in the world. You took that character and made him off on an island drinking green titty milk, and basically saying, "Don't be a Jedi; it sucks." What?
I can't.
Why are you telling me this? My childhood was built on I want to be a Jedi and I want to smash everything. You had Darth Vader, one of the greatest characters of all time. I don't care that he's a villain. I've said it on this program many a time. Heroes make a good story. Villains make a story great. Darth Vader made Star Wars great. That you took that character and you just Obi-Wan Kenobi just ran him through the mud. Just absolutely destroyed him when you saw him in the original trilogy, you were like, this guy is a badass. This is a badass. He's going to destroy everything. He's going to do whatever he wants. And then you see him in Obi-Wan Kenobi and you're like, this guy's pathetic. He can't even kill people right in front of him. Like, what? No. That's not how I envision Vader. I envision Vader just absolutely slaughtering everyone. And then because I loved Vader as a character, that's why I enjoy the prequel trilogies, because the prequel trilogy tells the story of Anakin Skywalker, how he becomes Darth Vader. That's awesome. You could have continued that. You could have made your own characters and made me care about them. You didn't. Your story sucked. Every story you've put out has sucked. The Mandalorian, by the way,
with Baby Yoda.
Shout out to Nerdrotic. If you haven't gone over to Nerdrotic's channel, by all means, if you're into comic books, if you want to know about comic books and culture and everything, there's nobody better. Nobody knows comics better than Nerdrotic. He's a great YouTuber. He's a great guy. Gary is awesome. He explains things very well. And he just put out a video about Mandalorian season 3 that is if you're a fan of Star Wars, it will probably make you cry because of how he just explains how bad the writing is for this show and how they have just destroyed it. And I'm telling you, viewership is down. Viewership for The Mandalorian is down 200%. Dead. Dead. Anything with the name Star Wars attached to it is going to be dead from this moment on. Anything that is named Star Wars is going to be dead because of what these people have done to it. And it's bad. It's sad for the world because, like I said, I'm not a Star Wars fan. We can have the discussion of Star Wars. My cousin Brianna, her fiance Alex, my brother, they're the biggest Star Wars fans that I know. I've had them on the show before. Our first YouTube video, our first YouTube video was actually last year's Summer of Greatness tournament, greatest Star Wars character of all time, with Alex and Brianna on it. But last year when I did my ripping of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Alex, Brianna, and brother Tom, or as I call him, Hallmark Hogan, he was on the show. They were on the show defending it, and that's what it takes. It takes people that care about the IP, that people that care about Star Wars. You need to get them involved. You need to get them to tell the stories because they're the ones telling this. They're the ones that are going to put this in a good light. The people that they're pandering to are people that don't care about Star Wars. They're going to drop, they're going to drop it at the end of all of this. All the people that they've pandered to with their women empowerment, with making the Mandalorian They turned him into a side character in his own show to build up the female Mandalorian to take over the mantle. The people you pandered to with that are not going to watch the next season. They're going to move on to the next thing that they want to destroy, and they're going to leave you in the dust. And meanwhile, what you've done, Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilms, Disney, what you've done is destroyed everything you had going for you. You got rid of your own fan base by calling your own fan base racist, sexist, everything under the sun. You've alienated your old fans. The new fans that you have moved on to something new that they want to destroy. And now you're left with, I can say, the only people that care about Star Wars probably are my cousin, her fiance, and my brother. And you've got 3 fans. Good job. You went from millions you went from hundreds of millions to 3.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that will be your legacy. That will be the legacy of Lucasfilms from here on out. Is they built up something into the greatest thing, and it's like you said, Rod, with it's like we said with wrestling. The tie-ins together. People would buy wrestling figure. People would buy Star Wars action figures off the shelves. If they put out a lightsaber, people would buy it. They put out an Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber or a Reva lightsaber. They couldn't even crowdfund it. They couldn't even get enough people to make the damn thing. That's how badly this franchise has been destroyed. You had people that would buy stuff in the thousands. People would spend hundreds of dollars to buy a signature. They would spend hundreds of dollars to buy a Darth Vader lightsaber, a Luke Skywalker lightsaber, a Darth Maul double lightsaber. People would spend hundreds of dollars on that. I've seen people that have spent $500-$600 on stuff like that. They can't even get people to donate to make the damn thing.
That's bad.
And it goes to what we talk about on this show all the time. And since I have 2 minutes of computer time left, I'll spend my last point here of, look, I don't care if 5 people see, I don't care if 1 person sees my video. I don't care if 10,000 people see my video. I don't care if 1 million people see my video. If 1 million people see my video and 900,000 of those people hate it and absolutely hate what I'm doing, I'm like, man, I did bad. If 1 person watches this video, and after it they go, wow, that was really good. That was awesome. Like, thank you for doing that. If 1 person tells me that, I feel good about it. I feel good. I don't care that if 1 million people watched my show and 1 million people hated it. If everybody watched my show and they hated it, like Velma, I don't care that millions of people watched Velma, because millions of people watched Velma and they watched it because they hated it. If 5 people watch my show and people go, "Huh, you only got 5 views," yeah, but all 5 of those people that watched my video liked it. All 5 of those people that watched it got something out of it. All 5 of those people, it connected with them. That's all I care about. I don't care how many people watch it. All I care about is the content's out there, and if you like it, like it. And that's why I bring up, Rod does. All right, sorry about that, guys. And sorry to Rod. My computer ended up dying before the 2 minute. They sent me a 2 minute warning, and I'm guessing they sent me the 2 minute warning at about a minute and a half because 30 seconds later it died. But anyway, I am back. Thank you to Rod. As I was saying, subscribe to Rod Uncensored, guys. Rod does a great job. He puts out sports stuff. He puts out the mystery thing, the murder thing that Rod was doing was awesome. I love that. He's got great content over there. Go do that. Subscribe to Rod, and thank you to Rod for coming on. We're gonna get out of here, but the one thing I have to do, and to see if I'm still signed in here. Yep, I'm still signed in. All right, because I'm still signed in. All right, everything that I was talking about before. Everything that I was talking about before, you know how we do this with our program. What happens? Look, everybody, Saturday, go over to Legacy Maker Sports. Fit Down will be there, and we'll do our thing over there. But until then, just remember everything you heard here.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.